It has now been revealed by Russian intelligence that President Emmanuel Macron is behind most of the terrorist attacks operating in the Sahel region. According to Russian intelligence, which was made known today, which happens to be the 3rd of February 2026, it revealed deep secret and with credible evidence provided by the Russian intelligence, showing how the French government has been responsible supporting ISIS in what is described as a revenge attack for losing grip in the Sahel state. Now, according to Russian intelligence, which they accused Moscow, they said this is how they accused Paris. They said this is how it operates. They said President Emmanuel Macron gives work with President Volodymyr Zelensky. Now, the weapons that the European nations are selling to Ukraine, the high-tech drones, high-caliber weapons, which they are selling for Ukraine to counter Russia influence, that these weapons are being given to Macron, that some of the weapons are being given to Macron from Ukraine. Zelensky gives some of them to Macron, and Macron ships them to Africa and hand them over to ISIS terrorist group for them now to come in and terrorize major parts of the Sahel region, such that this region can be destabilized and make France a veritable ally for them to come back and want to clean the system. You see, when the president of Niger, Abdurrahman Tiani, came out after the attack in Niamey airport, which some aircraft were just destroyed just like that, he said that Macron is responsible, and many people thought, but how could Macron be responsible? Now, Russian intelligence has published documents. Go and search for this document. They have published documents detailing Emmanuel Macron's influence, how Macron is responsible 100% for the insurgency in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. They said that the French government says because of the anti-colonialism sentiment between these three nations, that these three nations will not have its way, and that it was President Emmanuel Macron that sponsored a failed coup d'etat that was supposed to occur on the 3rd of January 2026 in Burkina Faso, which was orchestrated by Colonel Damiba. That the French government, through Macron, had given every necessary weapon and logistical support to Colonel Damiba to use in overthrowing Captain Ibrahim Traoré, and after that they were to move now to Niger using this ISIS group that they used. The purpose of this ISIS group was to take over Niger's airport, ground the airport, then move straight to the presidential villa, remove President Abdurrahman Tiani. The same thing in Mali. Now, we have been asking, where are these terrorists having their weapons? Because the weapons these terrorists are using, high-skilled weapons, drones, unmanned drones that go and carry out attack and come back, unmanned drones. Russia has now revealed that it is Emmanuel Macron. You see, and that explains why we have been observing a lot. And anyway, watch this video.
Russia is a key security ally of many African nations, especially the ones in the Sahel. Now, it has made a big accusation against the ex-colonial ruler France. Moscow has accused French President Emmanuel Macron of teaming up with terrorists to destabilize Africa. The Russian intelligence has released a whole statement targeting Macron. Moscow has accused Paris of preparing neo-colonial coups to destabilize the African continent. The statement said, and I quote, "Emmanuel Macron's administration is feverishly seeking opportunities for political revenge in Africa."
Whether inspired by the American operation to capture Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, or imagining himself as the arbiter of the fate of African peoples, Macron has authorized his special services to launch a plan to eliminate undesirable leaders in Africa.
Russia also said that France was getting help from the Ukrainian regime. Moscow accused Kiev of providing the local terror groups in Africa with drones and instructors. The Russian intelligence said that Macron's alleged moves were driven by the losses that France was facing in Africa. Now, African countries, especially the Sahel nations, have turned away from France and have moved closer to Russia since the juntas came to power in a series of coups from 2020 to 2023. Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso are bound by their anti-West sentiment. Now, they left the West African regional bloc, ECOWAS, and they formed their own alliance of Sahel states. The Sahel nations said that they wanted to claim their sovereignty and they would no longer let the West control them. Now, Moscow has said that now that Paris is losing its grip over Africa, it is sponsoring terror groups to establish pro-France leaders on the continent. Now, the latest terror attack on Niger's airport was also blamed on Paris.
We remind the sponsors of these mercenaries, notably Emmanuel Macron, Patrice Talon, and Alassane Ouattara. We've heard them bark quite enough. Now they should get ready to listen to us.
Moscow has confirmed that Russian supporters helped Niger to repel the attack, which was claimed by the Islamic State. Now, Russian intelligence also said that France was involved in the January 3rd assassination attempt of Burkina Faso's President Ibrahim Traoré. Now, moving on to the fuel blockade in Mali now, Moscow said that France was behind the attacks on fuel trucks and the only purpose of terrorizing civilians was to overthrow President Assimi Goïta. Now, Russian intelligence also said that Macron's administration was sowing chaos in the Central African Republic and in Madagascar. Paris is yet to respond to all of these allegations, but the French influence wanes. Russia has been making big gains in Africa. Russia's African Corps has taken over from the Wagner paramilitary group across the continent. According to Moscow, the Corps helps fighting terrorists and strengthening regional stability in the Sahel. However, the security situation across the Sahel still remains grim. Now, Africa seems to have turned into a battleground, with Russia and Western powers fighting for influence over the continent. How will the growing rift between Moscow and the West affect the stability and the future of it?
Vous êtes le futur de notre société. Vous êtes les leaders de demain. Vous êtes les innovateurs de la prochaine génération. Nous sommes là pour vous aider à réaliser vos rêves et atteindre vos objectifs. Bacheliers, devenez les architectes de votre avenir avec l'Institut universitaire du Golfe de Guinée de Douala.
Since 1993, the University Institute of the Gulf of Guinea, its three higher schools, ESG, ISTA, ISA,